حاملا معي المودة والصداقة.
Good afternoon. You're watching the English newscast on Future Television. I'm Yumna Naufal, and these are today's top stories. Progressive Socialist Party leader MP Walid Jumblat calls for holding the parliamentary polls under a revised version of the controversial 1960 electoral law. Beirut airport authorities halt the ban on citizens of 7 Muslim-majority countries traveling to the United States as airlines begin operating at the Rafiq Hariri airport. And Russia supports the continuation of talks on the Syrian crisis under UN auspices, according to Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Progressive Socialist Party head Walid Jumblat is calling for comprehensive secularization prior to endorsing proportionality of representation in the Lebanese parliament. The Ta'if Accord, he says, stipulates the gradual or complete eradication of political confessionalism. He said this during the plenary sessions for the 47th PSP convention. Lebanon, he added, is ruled by a unique system of political confessionalism in which major public positions are equally divided among Christians and Muslims. The Free Patriotic Movement has proposed secular representation along with a proportional electoral law. FBM, Hezbollah and Amal have all lobbied for a proportional voting system, but the parties have repeatedly declared that they are willing to reach a compromise that would satisfy all parties. So still on the same subject, the Free Patriotic Movement Alliance, along with the Lebanese forces, is targeted against Christian leaders such as Kataib Party Chief Sami Jmail, Marada Movement leader Sulaiman Franjieh, MP Boutros Harb, and other independent Christians, according to Progressive Socialist Party leaders. They're saying this after visiting Kirkuk and speaking with Maronite Patriarch Bshara Rai. Foreign Minister Jibran Basil told the four-party committee discussing that the electoral law he is willing to be lenient with is the one that Jumblat says regarding the Druze seats is out of the question for his bloc to compromise any Christian MPs. The FPM is disregarding the fact that there is a historic pro-Jumblat Christian representation in Mount Lebanon, which increases or shrinks according to alliances. The FPM wants to eliminate this representation, sources are adding. Beirut airport authorities halt a ban on citizens of 7 Muslim-majority countries traveling to the United States. Airlines operating at the Rafiq Hariri International Airport are allowing the citizens from countries previously included in President Donald Trump's travel ban to board flights headed to the U.S. A court order halted Trump's executive move to ban anyone traveling from 7 mainly Muslim-majority countries into the U.S. for 4 months. The new decision comes 1 week after airlines operating at the airports began implementing the travel ban to the United States for citizens from Syria, Iran, Iraq, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. From London to Paris, this all comes as New York and Washington as well brace for thousands of people taking to the streets in American and European cities to protest the U.S. Trump's travel ban amid a fierce legal battle over the order. Russia supports the continuation of talks on the Syrian crisis under United Nations auspices, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov is saying. In an interview published on the ministry's website, Lavrov says international talks on Syria that took place in Kazakhstan's capital Astana were a breakthrough step in efforts to resolve the crisis. The format of Astana talks between representatives of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad and opposition groups, however, should not replace the Geneva talks led by UN Special Envoy Staffan de Mistura. The next round of Geneva talks have been scheduled for February 20th, diplomats told reporters. They are planned to begin on February 8th, but Lavrov said last week that they had been postponed. The minister also reiterated Moscow's stance on relations with new U.S. President Donald Trump. He said the two countries were in a position to solve bilateral issues, improve ties, and coordinate efforts to fight international terrorism, but only on the basis of mutual respect. Turkish police detain hundreds of suspected members of ISIS in nationwide raids just over a month after an attack on an Istanbul nightclub claimed by extremists. Over 400 suspects were rounded up in Turkey's biggest police operation so far against ISIS since the New Year attack on the Reyna nightclub just 75 minutes into 2017 that killed 39 people, including 3 Lebanese nationals. Those detained included foreigners and those suspected of planning attacks in Turkey, according to Dogan and Anadolu news agencies. Anadolu says, according to the latest figure, 423 suspects are detained so far. The operation around the country could see 150 suspects rounded up in Selyofura in the southeast and 47 in the city of Gaziantep, close to the Syrian border, which is known as an extremist presence area. In the usually peaceful Aegean city of Izmir, 9 people suspected of traveling to and from Syria and planning attacks in the city were detained. Iraq is satisfied with the U.S. appeals court ruling against a travel ban imposed by President Donald Trump, a government spokesman is saying. The ruling given late Saturday denied a request from the U.S. Department of Justice to immediately restore Trump's order, which a judge in Washington state had blocked on Friday. Trump's executive order last week put a 120-day halt on the U.S. refugee program, barred Syrian refugees indefinitely, and imposed a 90-day suspension on people from the 7 Muslim-majority countries. Religious minorities persecuted by the Islamic State group and other Iraqis fleeing violence were also among those affected. The ban would have prevented a total of 20,000 people in precarious circumstances in the 7 countries targeted from resettling in the U.S. during the 120 days covered by the suspension, according to the United Nations. Baghdad, of course, protested against the ban, calling it unfair and saying that no Iraqi had been involved in attacks on U.S. soil. Coming up next, Hollywood directors named Damien Chazelle the best film director of 2016 for La La Land. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching the 1620 o'clock news here on Future Television. President Donald Trump is vowing to overturn the Seattle judge's blocking of his executive order to keep the refugees and travelers from the 7 countries out of the United States. He's been tweeting ever since, and he is quoted as saying, "The opinion of the so-called judge, which essentially takes law enforcement away from our country, is ridiculous and will be overturned." He's also said when a country is no longer able to say who can and who cannot come in and out, especially for reasons of safety and security, big trouble. Trump's tweets come just hours before news broke out. The U.S. State Department says in a statement it will allow people with valid visas into the United States in order to comply with the opinion from the federal judge in Seattle, barring President Donald Trump's executive action. Hollywood directors named Damien Chazelle the best film director of 2016 for La La Land at a gala ceremony on placing the musical in a strong position for the movie's world top honors, the Oscars, later this month. The Directors Guild of America, the DGA as it is known, leading industry group representing film and television directors, chose Ezra Edelman as the best documentary maker for OJ Made in America, which was nominated for the Best Documentary Feature Oscar. Past DGA feature films award winners have often gone on to claim the Best Director Oscar and see their films win Best Picture from the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences. After accepting his award, Chazelle called any attempt to restrict immigration to the U.S. anti-art. The Oscars will be handed out in Hollywood on February 26th to producers, directors, actors and actresses in a star-studded television show viewed around the world and among the most watched TV programs in the United States. At 32 years old, Chazelle would become the youngest ever Best Director Oscar winner. NFL fans are sides as the Super Bowl showdown between the New England Patriots and Atlanta Falcons nears. They're showing that they're taking sides. The Patriots will be making a record 9th appearance in the NFL's championship game, and many fans are finding it hard to pick against the New England juggernaut when asked who will win. It's going to be the Patriots in a rout 40-0 over the Falcons. Here we go all day, New England all day, exclaimed one fan. But there are believers in the Falcons and their high-flying offense. It's probably going to be a close game, so a lot of people are saying they are going to pick Atlanta Falcons over the New England Patriots. The Falcons held one last practice at Rice University while the Patriots filled their final day before the game with a family photo day on the field at NRG Stadium. If the Patriots win, it will be a record 5th crown for quarterback Tom Brady and head coach Bill Belichick. Jimmy Fallon, the host of The Tonight Show, penned his traditional thank you notes on the occasion of the Super Bowl, Beyoncé's latest announced pregnancy that has taken the internet by storm, and Steve Bannon, the man believed to be behind Donald Trump's most controversial statements. Take a look.
If you guys wouldn't mind, I'd just like to write out my weekly thank you notes right now. Is that cool with you guys? Thank you, Atlanta Falcons logo, for letting me know what would happen if the post office logo hooked up with the Sprint logo. Spicy. Thank you, Beyonce, for being pregnant with twins. I just hope you don't forget about all the single babies. All the single babies, all single babies, all single babies, all single babies. Thank you, plastic shopping bag, for being the perfect place to store all of my other plastic shopping bags. Fit perfectly scrunched in that bag. Thank you, Trump's Supreme Court nominee Neil Gorsuch, for looking like a dad on Law & Order who says, "That doesn't sound like something my son would do." He rarely jogs that path. Thank you, 7-layer dip, for being 7 layers when the game begins and 1 super weird layer for the rest of the night. It's like, oh, dude. Whoa! What is that? Sour cream and something? I don't know. Thank you, Steve Bannon, for finally letting me know what happened to that pigeon lady from Home Alone 2. Thank you, Lego's new emojis, for letting users communicate emotions like I'm happy, I'm concerned, and I just stepped on a Lego. Thank you, wearing an NFL jersey to a Super Bowl party, for letting me know what it would look like if Tom Brady spent 40% of his time on a lazy boy.
Marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our headlines. Progressive Socialist Party leader MP Walid Jumblat calls for holding the parliamentary polls under a revised version of the controversial 1960 electoral law. Beirut's airport authorities halt the ban on citizens of 7 Muslim-majority countries traveling to the United States as airlines begin operating at the Rafid Hariri airport. And Russia supports the continuation of talks on the Syrian crisis under United Nations auspices, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov is saying. Those are your Sunday headlines live on Future Television. Check us again tomorrow for all the latest. Have a good one.
حامل معي المودة والصداقة.